Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. Imagine being stripped of everything, your family, your home, your dignity, and still finding a reason to live. That's exactly what Viktor Frankl did in the face of the unimaginable horrors of the Holocaust. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl is a powerful memoir and psychological analysis that blends Frankl's harrowing experiences as a prisoner in Nazi concentration camps with his groundbreaking theory of logotherapy. In the first part of the book, Frankl recounts the brutal and dehumanizing conditions of camp life and shares how finding meaning in even the darkest moments helped him survive. Hello and welcome back to A Journey in Perspective. In this video, we'll take you through part 1 and 2, summarizing Frankl's key observations and insights into human resilience, suffering, and the search for meaning. If you've ever questioned how to find purpose in hard times, this story will inspire and give you new perspectives. Part 1. Arrival at Auschwitz. Frankl describes the initial shock and disorientation upon arriving at Auschwitz. Prisoners were immediately separated, many sent to their deaths, while others were forced into labor. He reflects on the stripping away of personal identity, as prisoners lost their possessions, names, and even their dignity, reduced to numbers. Frankl emphasizes the importance of mental adaptation. Even in unimaginable circumstances, he recognized that survival often depended on finding psychological resilience. This part teaches us that when everything is taken from us, we still have the freedom to choose how we respond. The mind becomes our last form of freedom. The psychological phases of camp life. Frankl identifies 3 psychological phases that every prisoner went through: shock, apathy, and depersonalization. Shock occurred upon initial arrival, where prisoners felt disbelief and horror. Apathy set in as a defense mechanism against the constant suffering. Depersonalization marked the phase after liberation, where many struggled to reconnect with normal life. This shows that when people face extreme conditions, they may shut down emotionally. Recognizing these phases helps us understand how the human mind copes with overwhelming suffering. It's a reminder that psychological survival often comes from our ability to adapt to horrific environments. Frankl's observations challenge us to think about how we manage emotional pain and trauma in our own lives. Finding meaning in suffering. One of the most profound lessons in this part of the book is Frankl's belief that suffering itself can have meaning. He explains that even in extreme circumstances, prisoners who found a purpose were more likely to survive. Frankl's own purpose was his desire to finish his work on logotherapy and reunite with his wife, despite not knowing if she was still alive. Frankl's lesson here is that when life becomes unbearable, finding a reason to endure, whether through love, faith, or a personal mission, can provide the strength to go on. This chapter gives us hope that no matter how painful our circumstances, we can choose to find meaning. Even when we cannot change our external situation, we can control how we interpret our suffering. Capos and prison hierarchies. Frankl details the cruel system of hierarchies in the camps, where certain prisoners, known as capos, were given authority over others. Some capos were even more brutal than the guards, emphasizing the dehumanizing effects of power in a corrupt system. He observed that even in such terrible conditions, people's true characters were revealed. Some retained their morality, while others became selfish and cruel. This insight challenges us to reflect on how power and desperation affect human behavior. Even in our own lives, when faced with challenges or given authority, we must choose whether to act with integrity or cruelty. This chapter shows that extreme circumstances can bring out both the best and worst in people. It's a call to maintain our humanity and compassion, even in difficult situations. Love as a source of strength. Frankl recalls moments of finding solace in thoughts of his wife, even though he didn't know if she was alive. He describes how love, even in its absence, can provide profound meaning. One powerful moment is when he realized that the memory of love can sustain the human spirit. In a place where everything was stripped away, love remained a source of strength. When you face hardship, draw strength from the love you have for others, whether they are physically present or not. Love gives us a reason to endure and can carry us through the darkest times. This chapter reminds us of the power of love to transcend even the most unbearable suffering. Frankl's reflections show that love, as a form of meaning, is one of the most powerful human experiences. Spiritual freedom and inner strength. Frankl emphasizes that the last of the human freedoms is the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Despite being imprisoned, he found freedom within his own mind and soul. He explains that even when prisoners lost control over their external circumstances, they could still find strength in their ability to choose how they responded to their suffering. No matter how dire your situation, you always have the power to choose your attitude. This inner freedom is the key to mental resilience and spiritual survival. This part teaches a profound lesson about the resilience of the human spirit. Even when we lose control of our external lives, our internal world, our mindset, remains within our power. Conclusion of Part 1. Frankl concludes this part of the book by discussing how prisoners who survived didn't necessarily have the strongest bodies, but they had the strongest minds. The ability to find meaning in suffering was what made survival possible for many. He emphasizes that life is not about avoiding suffering, but about finding purpose in it. In your own life, when faced with suffering or hardship, ask yourself, what is the meaning in this? How can I grow or contribute, even in pain? By focusing on purpose, you can turn suffering into a source of strength. Part 1 of Man's Search for Meaning is a testament to the power of the human spirit. Frankl's experiences remind us that no matter what we face, we can choose to find meaning, and that choice is what makes life worth living. Part 2, Logotherapy in a Nutshell for Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. Have you ever wondered what drives human beings to endure life's hardest moments? Viktor Frankl found that the answer is meaning, and it's at the core of his revolutionary psychological theory, logotherapy. In Part 2, Logotherapy in a Nutshell of Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl shifts from recounting his personal experiences in the concentration camps to explaining his groundbreaking psychological approach known as logotherapy. Unlike traditional forms of therapy that focus on resolving past trauma, logotherapy focuses on the future, on finding meaning and purpose in life, even through suffering. In the remaining part of this video, we'll dive into the key principles of logotherapy, exploring how Frankl's theory of meaning can help you navigate life's challenges and find purpose in the face of adversity. The will to meaning. Frankl argues that the primary drive in human beings is not the pursuit of pleasure, as Freud believed, or the will to power, as Adler suggested, but rather the will to meaning. Humans are most fulfilled when they have a purpose that gives their lives significance. He explains that people's psychological distress often stems from a lack of meaning, which he calls existential frustration. Reflect on what gives your life meaning. Ask yourself, what is my purpose in this moment? Whether it's in relationships, work, or personal growth, identifying meaning can help overcome feelings of emptiness or frustration. This section highlights a key takeaway from Frankl's work, that meaning is essential for psychological health. Unlike many psychological theories that focus on our past traumas, Frankl encourages us to look forward toward purpose and meaning. The existential vacuum. Frankl introduces the concept of the existential vacuum, a sense of emptiness and purposelessness that often leads to feelings of depression or anxiety. In modern times, this vacuum arises because people no longer rely on traditions or social structures to give their lives meaning. He notes that many people fill this vacuum with superficial pleasures, such as materialism, power, or distractions, which only deepens the sense of meaninglessness. If you're feeling empty or directionless, focus on creating meaning in your life rather than filling the void with temporary pleasures. Consider what activities, relationships, or goals make you feel truly alive and connected. This section speaks to a common modern experience, the sense of purposelessness that often comes from living in a fast-paced, materialistic society. Frankl's advice to seek deeper meaning offers a much-needed antidote to this existential void, the meaning of life. Frankl insists that there is no one universal meaning to life. Instead, meaning is personal and specific to each individual. It's something we must discover for ourselves in each moment. He emphasizes that meaning can be found in three primary ways: through work, love, and suffering. Each provides opportunities to make life meaningful. Look for meaning in your everyday experiences. Whether it's through the work you do, the people you love, or how you handle suffering, meaning is all around you if you open yourself to it. This chapter reminds us that life's meaning isn't something we find in grand, universal truths, but in our individual choices and actions. It's a personal journey, and meaning is found moment by moment. The essence of logotherapy. Logotherapy focuses on helping patients find meaning in their lives, rather than simply resolving their symptoms. Frankl explains that while traditional psychotherapy looks backward at a person's past, logotherapy is future-oriented and focuses on what the individual can achieve moving forward. A key technique in logotherapy is de-reflection, which helps individuals focus on others or goals outside of themselves, shifting attention away from their own internal problems. If you find yourself overly focused on your own struggles, try de-reflection by turning your attention outward. Focus on a meaningful project, a loved one, or an external goal that redirects your energy towards something purposeful. Logotherapy offers a refreshing approach to therapy that encourages us to look beyond our struggles and focus on the future. It reminds us that the key to overcoming suffering is often found in serving others or pursuing goals bigger than ourselves. Tragic optimism. Frankl introduces the idea of tragic optimism, the ability to remain optimistic and find meaning despite life's inevitable suffering. He explains that life includes tragedy, pain, guilt, and death, but we can still find meaning in how we respond to these experiences. He uses the example of suffering in the concentration camps to illustrate how, even in the worst situations, meaning and hope can be found. Practice tragic optimism by choosing to find meaning even in hardship. When you face challenges, ask yourself how you can grow from the experience, or how you can use it to help others. This idea is incredibly empowering. It shows that no matter how tragic life becomes, we can still choose to face it with optimism and find purpose. This chapter is one of the most inspiring parts of Frankl's work, offering hope in the face of suffering. The defiant power of the human spirit. Frankl argues that humans have an innate capacity to rise above their circumstances, no matter how difficult. He calls this the defiant power of the human spirit, the ability to find meaning even in the worst situations. He explains that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we always have the power to choose how we respond to it. When faced with adversity, remember that you have the power to choose your response. Practice resilience by focusing on how you can use your situation to grow and find purpose, rather than feeling defeated by it. This chapter reminds us of our own strength. Even when life feels overwhelming, we have the ability to overcome and find meaning through our inner spirit. It's an inspiring call to embrace our power to persevere. Freedom of will. Frankl discusses freedom of will, the idea that humans always have the freedom to choose their attitude and actions, regardless of their external circumstances. He argues that this freedom is the key to finding meaning in life. Because we can always choose our response, we can always find purpose in our experiences. In difficult situations, remind yourself that you always have a choice. No matter what happens, you have the power to choose how you respond and to find meaning in your actions. This chapter reinforces one of the most powerful messages of the book, that our ability to choose our response is what gives us the power to create meaning, even in suffering. Frankl concludes by reminding us that life's meaning is not given to us. It's something we must continually seek and create. He reiterates that meaning can be found in love, work, and even in suffering. He also emphasizes that life's ultimate meaning may not always be clear, but that the search itself is what brings fulfillment and purpose. Embrace the journey of seeking meaning. Understand that life's purpose may change over time, and that the quest for meaning is a lifelong process that can bring depth to every stage of life. Frankl's work leaves us with a profound message, that life's meaning is not handed to us, but something we actively create. This journey to find and live meaning is what makes life truly rich. To conclude, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl is a powerful exploration of both personal survival and a groundbreaking psychological theory. Through his experiences in the Nazi concentration camps, Frankl teaches us that even in the face of unimaginable suffering, we have the power to find meaning. In the first part of the book, Frankl shows us that mental resilience and the pursuit of purpose can keep the human spirit alive, even in the darkest times. In the second part, he introduces logotherapy, his approach to psychology, which emphasizes the importance of finding meaning as the primary driver of human existence. Key lessons: meaning through suffering. Frankl reminds us that suffering is a part of life, but it's our response to suffering that determines its impact on us. We can find purpose even in pain by asking ourselves, what is this trying to teach me? Next time you face hardship, instead of resisting it, ask yourself how you can grow or contribute through the experience. Recognizing meaning in suffering can transform it into a source of strength. Freedom to choose your response. Frankl emphasizes that no matter what happens to us, we always have the freedom to choose our attitude. This freedom of will is the key to resilience. In difficult situations, remind yourself that you control how you respond. Instead of letting circumstances dictate your emotional state, focus on how you can respond in a way that aligns with your values and purpose. The will to meaning. Unlike other psychological theories that focus on the pursuit of pleasure or power, Frankl shows that the most fundamental human drive is the search for meaning. Without meaning, we experience an existential void. Regularly reflect on what gives your life meaning, whether it's through love, work, or personal growth. Staying connected to your purpose can help you navigate challenges and find fulfillment. Tragic optimism. Frankl's concept of tragic optimism teaches us that we can maintain hope and find meaning even when life includes unavoidable pain and suffering. It's about seeing the potential for growth in every circumstance. Practice optimistic thinking even when life feels tough. Focus on how you can turn tragedy into opportunity and suffering into personal growth. In conclusion, man's search for meaning offers profound insights on how to live a meaningful life no matter what we face. Frankl's work is a reminder that the human spirit is resilient and that meaning can be found in every moment through love, work, and even suffering. If you found this summary helpful and want to explore more life-changing books like this, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you'll be updated whenever we release new content that helps you navigate life with greater purpose and resilience. Thanks for watching.